wrong one, remember?
They don't know that.
They do now because I just sent us live. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Champ Chat. We're having fun in the background, and Aaron got the blame.
Yeah, I'm getting blamed for it.
All your fault.
Yeah, probably. It happens. You guys
Okay.
the lies that were being spoke about me today were astonishing. I'll tell you that right now. Absolutely appalling what happened today while I wasn't on. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves.
Okay. And on that bombshell, I'm actually going to start with our video. Okay, so we're back and we're starting for real this time. Hello, everybody. This is Champ Chat, your Monday night session where we talk about everything championship. I am Paddy. We have John and Aaron in the house tonight as usual. And because we are starting this an hour early, and we will be going at this time for the near future, we really haven't prepared much. That's what we were chatting about in the background while we were waiting. Any ideas what you want to start with tonight?
Whatever. I'm easy.
Whatever.
I'm easy going. A good place to start. Probably we go through the weekend results.
Okay.
Start there. It's a good place to start, and then we can jump off and see where we end up.
Okay, give me 2 seconds. I'll pull this up. So, how is everybody in the chat? Have we got lots of people here? Or are people going to come in an hour's time and give out to us for starting early?
Yeah, everybody will come in as we're finishing.
If everyone gives a stick for starting an hour, we just blame Josh, so it's fine.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
Let's blame him. As long as we're not blaming me.
Well, you didn't send me the link in time, so you're fine. So.
Yeah, whatever. Is what it is.
Okay, share screen. Here we go. Boom. Can everybody see this? Right, round 19 started Friday, December 5th. Hull City lost 4-1 to Middlesbrough. Charlton match was abandoned, so that is a... is this the right week? It is.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, it is. Okay, yes. So the Charlton match was abandoned. I mentioned that at the weekend. And it's against Portsmouth. So we will discuss that, actually. That's another story, briefly. We won't spend too long on it, maybe. Derby County lost 3-1 to Leicester City. Watford won 3-2 versus Norwich. Norwich absolutely in the dogs. Still can't do very much. Blackburn Rovers versus Sheffield Wednesday. We had another abandonment due to rain. God damn it, Rovers. Can you not fix your pitch? So there's another story for tonight. Okay, Bristol City lost 1-0 to Millwall. Ipswich won for a change, 3-0, but against Coventry. Excellent result for them. Preston North End had a draw with Wrexham 1-1. Queen's Park Rangers won 3-1 versus West Bromwich Albion. Sheffield United had a fantastic 4-0 win versus Stoke. Southampton 3-1 to keep their run going versus Birmingham. Swansea City actually managed to pull a win out, 2-0 versus Oxford. Pretty much a 6-pointer there.
Mm-hmm.
So, do we want to run down through them? Do we want to speak about any of the matches first before we hit storylines?
I don't know if you want to just start at the top or you want to jump around and just hit a few of them.
Middlesbrough Hull. Decent result for Middlesbrough, kind of expected, yeah?
Yeah, I don't know if the scoreline probably wasn't expected. You would expect Middlesbrough to be good. I'll tell you what, though, a new coach might be onto something there. I think they were starting to get on a run there under Edwards right at the end where it wasn't looking too hot. There's a lot of draws. They were up there, but they weren't performing real well. I think new managers getting a different tune out of them. They may be a team to watch. I mean, obviously they're in second place, but I think they're gonna be dangerous.
There's
Yeah.
a new manager bounce, and then there's been 4-0 up in the first half. That's that's a serious bounce, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Leicester City 3-1 away at Derby. About time Leicester started doing something.
I watched. I was switching between this game and the Watford game, sort of on the weekend. I was really impressed with Leicester for the majority of the game. I think Derby didn't help themselves. Derby, I think, for the first 20 minutes were incredibly poor, but Leicester played some good football. Looked very dangerous. I still say they're a striker short of being a really, really good side. But yeah, Derby's defending, let's just say, wasn't the best. I think John Eustace, they had a tactical injury to the goalkeeper where Eustace got the whole team over on the touchline. It was, let's say, it was pretty clear what he thought of his team's performance by the way that he was talking to his players. But yeah, that's a good result for Leicester, especially considering the run they've been on.
Does seem like the Carlton Morris injury is affecting Derby a lot. Like, I mean, it's become a big issue for them because I don't know. I'm trying to look through. I don't know if they've won a game, or I think they've won one maybe since he's been out. But they've lost. Yeah, they won. They beat Swansea 2-1, but other than that, they've lost 3 of the last 4. So they've not been on a great run.
He's out till February as well.
Is it that long? Oof,
it's that long. Yeah, they said they're hoping he'll be back mid-February. They said on the commentary and that game, which is, like you said, huge for the way they play.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, we spoke about this because we were linked with him. They brought in Patrick Adjumong, and I think they're starting to see a little bit of what I saw. I think he's just really raw. He looks like he's a fantastic athlete, and he causes problems because he's such a good athlete, but his finishing is not good. He's very raw. When he gets the ball in the box, sometimes like I think he just melts down. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what I was seeing when I was watching him. People were linking him to us, and I'm like, I don't want anything to do with this guy. So I obviously have not watched him play a ton with Derby, but I just looking at the stats, and I mean, he scored 3 goals. And he's got 3 assists, that's good. That's very good. But I don't think I think they thought they were bringing him in, especially with the money they paid for him. I think they were paid like 8 for him, 8 million. So I think they expected him to come in and be the guy, and I don't think he's that guy. So
I think the technical term is, they say in football, he's quite raw, shall we say?
Yeah.
Which also corresponds, and you can call not very good either. So
it's a nice way of saying he's
good. Good on occasion.
Yeah.
Hey, Watford 3-2 versus Norwich. Decent result for Watford, pulling off 3 goals. Sorry, not Norwich, Watford. Yeah, but Norwich are still doing ridiculously bad, aren't they?
I see. I actually think they're getting better, though. I don't think to give them time. They're going to get this figured out. Philippe Clement's going to get this figured out. The 2 games before that, they drew against Oxford, beat QPR 3-1, and then lost this game. Yeah, they lost this game 3-2, but they were in this game. They kind of fell apart towards the end of it, but I don't think they weren't out of this game. They weren't ever it wasn't like they were getting hammered. You know what I mean? It wasn't like when we played them where we hammered them. You know what I mean? They never looked like they were in the game against us. They never looked out of this game from what, just the bits of it. I saw a good, I don't know. I saw a good chunk of it, and because I was kind of going in and out, but it was, they didn't look out of the game at all. They looked a lot better than when they played us. So I think give him some time, and he'll get them. It's going to take a little bit, but he'll get them out of the bottom for sure.
Yeah, I think the thing with Norwich as well is that they have a horrendous injury list right now.
Yeah.
I think I read somewhere that they had a left winger who hadn't played a game for near enough a calendar year for them, having to play left back out of the blue because they were just so short of numbers. And like you said, Aaron, I watched a big portion of this game. They were much better than they have been in recent weeks, and Watford are a decent side, to be fair to them, but Norwich did give as good as they got, but like you said, they just ran out of legs towards the end of the game, to be honest.
Yeah. Having a quick look here. Oh, yes. Right, I've got a list of Norwich injuries. So we have Ante Cernak, cruciate ligament injury, earliest July 26. Benjamin Crisene, hamstring injury, December. Gabriel Forsyth, knee injury, December. Jack Stacey, hamstring injury, December. Jeffrey Schlupp, hamstring injury, December. Jose Cordoba, hamstring injury, December. Liam Gibbs, hamstring injury, December. How many? 4 or 5 hamstring injuries so far. Liam Gibbs, hamstring. Lucien Mahova, hip injury. Mirko Topic, cruciate ligament injury, earliest August 26. Ouch. And Papa Diallo, hip injury, late January 26. So 2 hip injuries, 1 million hamstring injuries. Wow.
And I think the thing that Norwich are suffering with is a lot of those names that you've read out there were, some of them are new signings, but a lot of them are what they would classify as first team players. And from the names you read out, there's a lot of wingers and a lot of fullbacks listed in there as well.
Ouch. Let's not complain about ours too much. Okay, so yeah, they'll come back strong and will survive mid-table somewhere by the end of the season. Right, then on to Bristol City. Another loss for them. 1-0 at home when they were facing Millwall. They're not doing great, Bristol, are they? For their name.
They've gone off the ball, haven't they? The last couple of games, I think. I mean, Millwall are one of those horrible sides where they can beat anyone 1-0 away from home because it's Millwall. But I must admit, considering the recent couple of results of Bristol, I didn't expect them to lose that game, to be honest. So that's a brilliant result for Millwall. But it's obviously 2 teams in and around each other. That to lose at home against one of the teams right next to you in the table, that will hurt Bristol.
Yeah.
So if I just looking at their form recently, we'll go back to the Birmingham game. They beat you guys. That was them at home. They beat Birmingham 1-0, but then they lost 5-1 to Stoke, lost 1-0 to Blackburn, drew with Watford 1-1, then beat Swansea 3-0, then lost to us, then beat Portsmouth, then this weekend lose to Millwall. So they've been very their form definitely dropped. That's 4 losses and a draw in the last 7 games. So not great. Dropping points in 5 of 7, and only one of those being a draw. So yeah, they've definitely, their form has fell off a cliff. And the only teams they beat were, 2 of the teams that are in a relegation fight. So obviously they're not in trouble, but they don't look anything like being a playoff team right now, for sure.
Yeah. Then next up we have an interesting one. Ipswich Town won 3-0 versus Coventry City at home. They have recently had pretty decent form with the odd hiccup here and there. But they're on a bit of a charge. They're back up in the playoffs.
Yeah, Ipswich. I was surprised by the loss a couple weeks ago, or I guess it was like a week ago, a couple game weeks ago, to Oxford. They lost 2-1 to Oxford. That one surprised me, but and then they drew with Blackburn in their midweek game. The replay against them, they only equalized there at the last minute. So the last couple games they hadn't been looking fantastic. and then they pull out a 3-0 win against Coventry. And I wonder, and I've heard some other podcasts kind of talk about this. You do wonder if maybe playing against a team that wasn't just going to sit back and get a low block and make them break them down didn't help them. You know what I mean? I think Coventry probably came at them a little bit. I didn't get to watch this game, so I'm kind of speaking out of turn maybe a little bit, but I would assume Coventry tried to play against them, and Coventry probably were just a little open. And you got players that the Ipswich have. They can hurt you if they find some space. So I wonder if it was kind of one of those deals.
Yeah, it sounds very much like that. I mean, I think I won't say this was the surprise result of the round, but I kind of went with this game. I kind of thought if Coventry go there and win, give them the trophy, because that would be a hell of a statement. I did always think Ipswich would probably sneak it at home, but I didn't see 3-0. Like you said, that screams of both sides have actually put the ball down and had a go at each other. And I'll be honest, this is going to sound ridiculous, but considering the players that Coventry have got and had, they're top of the league, Ipswich for me just have better attacking players, even though that sounds ridiculous because of the amount of goals Coventry can see. I just thought, you get into a bit of a gunfight, end-to-end game with Ipswich. I'm not sure anyone in this league is capable of doing that. So, but I'm surprised it ended 3-0. I'm surprised Coventry didn't score.
So for their front four was Hurst up top, and then you had Eagly on the right, Philogene on the left, and Nunez as the 10. So I mean that's some quality. That's a pretty good front four.
Jack Clark's not even playing.
Yeah, and I'm sure he came on at some point.
Okay. If you haven't seen him, I have the stats here. So it was Egley at 43, Hurst at 60, Azon scored the final one at 90 plus 5, right at the very end. So have a guess at the possession stat, if you haven't seen it.
I've not looked at it yet. I would guess, I'll say maybe somewhere around 50-50.
I'd say 60-40 in Ipswich's favour.
Okay. 62% Coventry, 38% Ipswich. XG 1.45 for Ipswich, 0.67 for Coventry. 11 shots versus 11, and then 3 big chances versus 1. So Coventry did try and play. They did have the ball. And Ipswich made use of it every time they got it, pretty much.
There you go.
And a lot of the momentum was second half of the second half for Coventry. They were pushing, trying to get the 2 goals back.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think in all fairness, that was a good result for the league, because I think if Coventry had gone there and won, you kind of think, well, there's at least now that I won't say it's a stumbling block, but at least Ipswich have proven actually they are as good as Coventry, if you know what I mean, in that result. So maybe that might make Coventry stutter a little bit. Who knows?
Yeah, so that is only the second loss for Coventry. One against us, obviously, and then one against Ipswich. Pretty decent. Okay, next up, Preston North End 1-1 with Wrexham. It actually wasn't too bad a match for what we have. I am less worried about amazing performances because of our left wing back, right wing back issues. Right. We're doing okay. We're holding up in defense generally. And look, it is what it is. A draw against a decent team who are ahead of us in the table. I won't turn my nose up at it too much.
No, I was happy with it. I mean, it was disappointing because we led for so long. You know what I mean? But and a little inside baseball here. Me and Patty were watching the game together, so we were, and we talked during the game that when they did score, it was kind of like, well, that was kind of coming. You know what I mean? They definitely had us.
They had us
the
pinned
ball,
back and
that we were
corner after corner. Yeah.
And it was interesting. And I know Josh kind of touched on it today, and I took it differently than he did, for sure. James McLean kind of made, he's came out, he said, he goes, we just kind of quit playing, and I'm not sure why. And I don't think that was him saying that they were told to stop playing. I think that was just him saying that the players just kind of let down a little bit and allowed themselves to be pushed back and pinned back and didn't take back control of the game. And I think that's the truth. I think that is what happened. I think they just kind of they allowed them to have the ball instead of and just let it happen. You can't stop playing like you can't allow a team to come onto you over and over and over. You know what I mean? You got to step on the ball and get some of that possession, and they just didn't. And we paid for it. But I think Arthur was absolutely unbelievable, and it was disappointing that the one goal that did go in. I kind of feel like he probably could have done better for.
Yeah.
But I hate saying that. I hate saying that because I did say to you, there was one replay you saw it. Max was coming across, and I actually wonder if Max got in his eyesight as the ball was coming, because I don't think he could see it because Max was running to try to get a foot on it. And I think Max might have crossed his view just as the ball was coming, and so he may have lost sight of the ball as it was coming in, because that was a tight end. I mean, you really don't want to get beat to your front corner like that. And he was right there. That's the thing. Like and Arthur's got quick hands. He could have stopped that, you'd think. But I wonder if he just didn't have eyes on the ball, and that was just because he was trying to get it. Max was trying to get it cleared out of there, but it happens. But it was a good point, though. I mean, here's the thing. Draw your away games. You know what I mean? Draw your away games. As long as we can win some of our home games, or most of our home games, we're gonna be in really good shape. You know what I mean? We're gonna be just fine. I was, wasn't our best performance of the season, but like you said, Patty, we're playing without our two starting wingbacks. You know what I mean? And you could make an argument we started our fifth string wingback. You know what I mean? And Ryan Barnett. You know what I mean? To be honest, he's if out of all of our wingbacks, he's probably the fifth.
Yeah, he would be the fifth out of
line.
5. Yeah.
I mean, and let's not pretend any of us, especially coming into the season, thought that Mako was going to really have much to do with the team at all. I don't think any of us really did. But again, he had a good, solid game. Nothing out of this world, but he was solid. Solid defensively, decent enough going for. Actually, I think he got the assist on the goal.
He did get the assist. Yeah, it was lovely.
So yeah,
lovely
it was. So I mean, can't complain too much about that. But those, I mean, really, those are our League One and even League Two, wingbacks. I mean, that was our wingbacks. That was our two wingbacks for League Two.
Yeah.
So
it's a good point, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm going to say, if you're being honest, at the start of the day before a ball is kicked, if somebody says you get a 1-1 draw away at Preston, I think both of you guys probably take it, don't you?
For sure. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so, it was just like I said. It's just disappointing because we led for so long. That's where the disappointment comes. And I think there was one I saw. I don't know if it was an article, might have been in the Leader or something. It was an interview with Parky, and he had mentioned that the guy in the locker room after the game, the boys definitely felt down. They weren't, they weren't happy. Ended up conceding that goal late, but yeah, that's good. I mean, it's good that they have that attitude, though. I think
Davis talks about it with us as well, is that he kind of almost says it to remind the fans, is that at this level, you're not going to be on top for 90 minutes. There will be periods in the game again where the opposition are on top of you and they are looking threatening, because it's just the level that we're at, and everyone's got tools that can hurt teams. So, like you said, it's galling to sort of let one slip when you've been in front of, but ultimately there are going to be coming times where you are under pressure. But yeah, point away from home, you can never really grumble at it.
I don't think so. Not in this league. Not right now.
Not this week, no.
Unbelievable.
And survive in this position till January, till the window
Mhm.
opens. I think we're good, and then we figure
Yeah,
out our issues if we still have some.
yeah. We're still 3 points off the playoffs, right? So it's not. I
Yeah.
mean, we're not out of it by any means. So yeah, we're fine.
Okay, next up, QPR 3-1 win over West Brom.
Bad game for the Baggies, this, isn't it? Really. Do we put Ryan Mason on sack watch if he wasn't already? Because
It
there's
seems
a
like
few
he's been right
grumbling.
on the line, hasn't he? He's been
Mm.
right there. Like he just picks up a result, right when you think he might be in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I only saw the highlights of this, and I questioned the goalkeeper on a couple of the goals where I think he should do a little bit better. I'm just not. The thing is, West Brom, they just don't look, for me, they just don't look dangerous. They look very passive. Look very look decent, organised, and you can tell they've got championship quality throughout the squad. But every time I watch them play, I almost feel like they don't go out to win the game. It's almost like they go out to just be competitive in the fixture and see how the game flows, and then decide later on in the match. Whereas I don't think I've seen a game. There's a few games now where I've seen them losing, and there's just no urgency about them. There's no desire to, or energy to just try and get back in the game. It's very strange. I'm not sure whether getting rid of Mason would be the right or the wrong call. But the natives are restless about it, and I'm not sure he's got many more. We'll put it this way: he hasn't got many more results in him if they go like that. So, cracking win for QPR though.
Yeah. So Varane scored at 45 plus 4 just at the end of the first half. Then 59 minutes into the second half for Burrell, QPR up 2-0. Hegabo pulled one back at 76 minutes, and then finally Burrell again at 87 minutes for the 3-1 win. Possession wasn't too far apart, 47 and 53. Expected goals was 2.0 and 1.48. 9 total shots for QPR, 13 for West Brom, 4 big chances for QPR, and 2 for West Brom. The momentum map is majorly favouring QPR on this one. They only had a big section after they got their first goal when it was 2-1. They were pushing heavily until QPR got through and pulled that third goal, which basically killed off the match at that point.
Yeah, I didn't see any of this game, so I'm
okay, no problem. Then we move on to the next one. Sheffield United starting to move up the table, 4-0 at home versus Stoke, which was a good win. Stoke are doing pretty okay.
Yeah, that's a huge result for Sheffield. I did expect Sheffield to win that game in a way. I didn't see like a total domination, especially with a Stoke side, which I think their form's been a bit hit and miss, hasn't it, recently? I think they've had a few good results, but they've also dropped the odd clanger. But
yeah,
that's,
Stoke have had 4 losses in the last 5.
Yeah.
So 2 losses, 1 win, and 2 losses, which is not great. And Sheffield United have won the last 4. That was Sheffield Wednesday, Portsmouth, Leicester City, and Stoke.
Yeah, Sheffield is a place you don't want to be going to right now, which as a Birmingham fan we do in a few weeks' time. So thanks for that, lads. But no, that's a I won't say a statement win, but that's kind of a win you kind of would have expected at the start of the season, a Sheffield United side beating a Stoke City side 4-0, but how the season has started, that's quite a surprise.
Okay, so goals, we had McGuinness at 10, Sariki 40, Bamford at 44 for the first half, and then a final goal, Peck at 77, which was a penalty. Stats for this one, Sheffield United only had 40% possession. Stoke had 60. Wowzers.
XG on that, 40% possession, but had a 2.43 XG to was Stoke with 60% of possession, had 0.27 XG. Just absolutely did nothing with it.
So 19 total shots for Sheffield United with 4 big chances. So they were peppering their goal the entire match. So yeah, they have some players that can do damage when they get together. It's saying here they played a 4-4-2 versus a standard 4-2-3-1 for Stoke. Is the 4-4-2 the regular for the last couple of matches?
I think they've switched to that recently. I don't know exactly when, but I was listening to a United fan, and he had mentioned they'd went back to a 4-4. They'd went to a 4-4-2.
Okay.
So I don't know exactly when they went to it, but yeah.
I think it's more personnel available, isn't it? They've kind of been forced into it, I think.
So it looks like
it's working for them. I'm going back through them now to have a look.
Looks like So they definitely in the last 4 wins, these 4 wins in a row, they've been in a 4-4-2 every game, and then I guess before that they drew with QPR. They were in a 4-4-2, and then let's see, the loss to Coventry. They were also they were in a 4-4-2. So I think they've been in a 4-4-2 for a while. It looks like so.
Yeah, and here recently against Portsmouth, it's showing a 4-2-2-2, which is just a variation. It's a variation.
It's just the wingers shoved up.
So interesting to see that kind of old school 4-4-2 come back a little bit. No harm. I like seeing it actually. Interesting. Okay, so we're not going to get another sacking on them this season, maybe at the moment. So do we think he's going to keep this up? Can he make playoffs? People have written them off already.
I still think it's going to be hard push to make the playoffs, but if this winning run continues for say another 4 or 5 games, so say they win, I don't know, say 8-9 in a row, they will be right back on the top end of the table in the playoff hunt. It's just whether they can do a run like that.
So at the moment they are 8 points off the playoffs. That's doable.
When you say it that way, it's not that terrible.
It's not that bad.
No, there's a lot of traffic in between.
Yeah, there is a ton of traffic. Yeah, there's a lot of traffic there. I mean, they're at 18th, but 8 points is doable.
Okay. Next up, then we have Southampton 3-1 win over Birmingham.
Joyful. No, it was a good game of football, to be honest. Southampton really impressed me. The way they move the ball about, the way that their pass and move, and some of their players, at times it just felt like they were levels above our better players. There was I think it was about midway through the first half, looking at it, it felt like Damari Gray was the only player on our side of the pitch which kind of looked like he belonged in this level of play at times. He was the only one that didn't look out of place, whereas a lot of the others seemed to be chasing shadows a little bit. And as Sean has put in the comments there, that Cienza for Southampton, he is... He's a different gravy. We just couldn't get near him. His quick of thought, his quickness of feet was just unbelievable at times. We just didn't have an answer for him. Which I'm painting a sort of a picture how it's very one-sided, but if you look at the stats, it wouldn't suggest that. I'm still heavily critical of our goalkeeper for 2 of the goals. The second goal especially, he definitely should do better. And the third goal, he's parried it straight out into danger, which I hate goalkeepers that do that. But ultimately, you cannot concede away from home against a team in form within the first 6 minutes or whatever it was. You're just asking for trouble, especially with our away form. So, but all in all, I was very impressed with Southampton. You can see, I think the commentator said they're averaging 3 goals a game at the moment, Southampton, and they just seem wave after wave. There's no sort of sit back or consolidate. It's very much of a we're just going to go out and hurt you every time we have the ball. I would arguably say they are They are probably up there with the best side I've seen play against us this season. There hasn't been anyone we've played against, even Coventry when they done us 3-0 at home or their place. We had a man sent off and that, and it was not really a contest. But the Southampton side, for me, the best footballing side I've seen this season. They really impressed me.
Yep, good. We'll see how they get on. Likely someone to watch. So next up, Swansea City 2-0 versus Oxford. Your definition of a 6-pointer, both of them in around that relegation zone. Swansea have, that was their first win in 5. So 4 losses back-to-back previous to that. Satamenik scored at 40 and then Timon at 45 plus 4 for 2 goals in the first half. Possession roughly even 51-49. 15 total shots for Swansea, 12 for Oxford. 2 big chances to 1. So it was a reasonably even match. Swansea did generally dominate the momentum graph with a few periods in the second half for Oxford.
The Timon goal was a beauty. He hits his ball on the volley. It just rockets it in to the net. It was unbelievable. If you get a chance, go check out that highlight because it was an unbelievable goal.
Would I be right in saying is that the first win under the new manager?
Yes,
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's only had a couple of games, hasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. That's a huge win considering the place that where Oxford and Swansea both are on the table.
Yeah.
That's also a huge blow for Oxford to lose that.
Yeah.
I know it's away from home, but aside in a range, you could say get a draw there, and that's a fantastic result. To lose, that's a biggie.
Yeah, for sure. And here's the thing. I mean, when you look at the bottom of the table, that puts Swansea at 20th and then Oxford at 21st. And if we all, if we think that Norwich is going to get out of that bottom 3, somebody's got to drop down into it. So who's it going to be? And so that's a massive win for Swansea. I think, obviously Norwich got a ways to go to get out of it. They're not. It's not like they're 1 win out. They are currently 5 points from safety. So it'll be work to get out, but I think they will. But it's just going to be who between probably Blackburn, Swansea, and Oxford gets sucked into that fight and end up getting dropped down in there.
Yeah. Round 20 is going to be really interesting for this bottom end of the table if you have a look at it. So starting in 18th, Sheffield United, who we know are on the way. Actually, no, let's go higher. Let's go to 17th. We have Charlton Athletic, who are on the way down on a serious run of losses. They had 1 win followed by 4 losses. Their next match is Middlesbrough. So that is very likely to be a loss for them, pushing them further down. Next up in 18, we have Sheffield United. They are playing Norwich, who are trying to get out of the relegation zone. But Sheffield United are on a 4-win streak tear. And the way Norwich have been playing, they're very likely to win that one, keeping Norwich sucked right down the bottom. Next up in 19, you have Blackburn Rovers. They are playing Oxford down in 21st position. So Blackburn wants to push themselves ahead and comfortably escape as well. And Oxford want to stay out of the relegation zone. Then in 20th, we have Swansea City, who just had a win after 4 losses. They are next playing Portsmouth, which is another 6-pointer and a potential winnable match, which could push them forward. If not, they're getting sucked back in because Portsmouth will be on 20, the same as Swansea. Then we have Sheffield Wednesday right at the bottom. We don't really matter. And they are playing Watford, but they're never going to escape anyway. So right at the bottom of the table, there is very, very interesting matches.
Yeah, that's
for next week.
That is going to be fun to watch.
They're all playing each other.
Yeah. Most of those games are. I don't know if you got the breakdown of the fixtures, but are all those games tomorrow?
No, I think they're split over the 2 days.
I'm looking. Actually,
It's
I
usually
think
8
actually,
and 4.
yeah, I think they are actually. Those games are all actually tomorrow. Because the Wednesday is Bristol and Leicester, Derby, Millwall, Ipswich, Stoke, and Hull and Wrexham. So yeah,
Okay, so
all those
playing
games
tomorrow,
are
same
all
time.
tomorrow. So yeah,
Basically the same time, yeah.
I tell you what, you look at that, and I know we've all sort of said you still expect Norwich to get out of it. They are in a real hole.
they're in a fight.
They are, yeah.
They're
Because
in a fight.
I know we say 5 points, but when you're down the bottom, 5 points is a chasm at times because
Yeah.
points are really hard to come by. And like you said with Sheffield and that, I mean, all it takes is a couple of those, like say Swansea or Oxford, to pick up wins all of a sudden. Then all of a sudden it's 8 points. And then. Yeah, I mean, like you, I just looking at the table there, and I before I looked at it, I kind of thought, yeah, it's Norwich to get out, but that's a serious turn of form they need to sort of swing round, and some results.
Yeah.
Okay, so just seeing as you mentioned that there, okay, Norwich City are currently on 13 points, and let's just say we expect a loss versus Sheffield United. That's very possible. Then we have Portsmouth versus Swansea. If Portsmouth win that, they move up to 20 points and are equal with Swansea City. Oxford United then have to play Blackburn, who are only 2 spaces above them. They could potentially win that. They will then be on 21 points, equaling Blackburn Rovers. And you have 2 teams on 21, 2 teams on 20. And next is Norwich on 13. So there'll be 7 points adrift of 2 teams and 8 points of the other 2 above, if those results went that way. So they could be in a much deeper hole come the end of tomorrow, depending on those results.
You'd say it's one of those, isn't it, where if you're a Norwich fan, you'd say that gap right now can't get any larger. If that gap gets into, say, double digits away from safety, you're really in trouble. You're at the point of, can we actually claw this back then?
Yeah.
But yeah. Interesting. I think I'll be keeping an eye on those tomorrow, but I do have to go to the ballet tomorrow night. So maybe a couple of sneaky checks on my phone. Right. So no one wants to hear about the ballet. So moving on then, let's see what we have. Let's go back to the top of this because we have 2 matches we need to talk about. First up, we have Charlton Athletic versus Portsmouth. Now, this was at the Valley and was abandoned after 12 minutes, I believe, although it doesn't seem to show it. Not that that's important, 12 or 14 minutes anyway. So for anybody who wasn't aware, there was a medical emergency in the stands. It was a Charlton Athletic fan, and he was actually given an award for last season for best fan or something similar. And unfortunately he died. So I think they were likely aware that it was very, very serious. If not, they knew that it had happened. So the teams decided not to come back out in agreement with everybody. So on behalf of everybody here, of course, you never want to hear of that. And for the majority, I think everybody was fairly nice in social media after the fact as well, in giving condolences and not, trolling too hard. Although, of course, there was a couple of idiots here and there. So that match will need to be replayed at some point. So that's really unfortunate. Anything to add, or will we just move on, guys?
No, there's a couple of really cool videos that he had done with, I think it was right towards the end of last season with Charlton, that fan that had passed away. Mm-hmm. So kind of telling his story. So interesting. I watched a couple of those. Some good stuff. They're on social media. You can find them. So yeah, condolences, but yeah, it's terrible. You never want to hear that happen. So
yeah, it's just incredibly sad, isn't it? No one should go to a game of football and not come home. So no, shocking.
Of course, we had something similar last season with Wickham. Mm-hmm. So we've been through it kind of as a team, watching our match, and it was one of our fans. But he was okay afterwards. He managed to pull through it. So we had a decent end result, but a horrible result there for Charlton Athletic with that happening. Okay, so let's go back. The other one then was Blackburn Rovers versus Sheffield Wednesday got abandoned. Doesn't say. Does anybody know when exactly it happened? Was it? It was second half. Was it? Yes, it was. It was about 15 minutes into the second half, according to the momentum chart. Ohashi had scored at 33 minutes for Blackburn Rovers. So, guys, does anyone want to start this? I'm actually going to have a quick look for some stuff in Discord that we had from yesterday, because I might show them if I can find them.
Okay.
I wouldn't condone gambling, but I'm putting my money on the rearranged fixture to finish 1-1 because there's a pattern coming here. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but some serious questions need to be asked regards this. Now, I have seen a couple of the videos doing the rounds on social media with the referee dropping the ball and all that sort of stuff, and I'm of the opinion where I think at times you just kind of think, really, players can play. It's a fine line. I get all that, but I think Blackburn themselves need some serious questions asked of them to why once you write it off, it happens once, but twice now. Yeah. There needs to be an underlying reason why this has happened.
Yeah, I agree, especially at this level. You know what I mean? It's one thing to be in League Two or the National League and having this happen, but in the Championship, at a club that historically is a Premier League club, you know what I mean, or at least top tier, club.
Won the Premier League.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, yeah, I don't know. I think it's inexcusable. So, like you said, it'd be one thing if it was it happened once and it was a freak crazy story. You know what I mean? And everybody was having issues, but when it's happened twice and you're the only game that's been called off, that's a problem.
I think the other key thing to point out is I don't think it's the team, the players, or the manager wanted this to happen either.
No,
because obviously this is the second time that they've been winning a game and this has happened.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not a weather expert or anything, but to me, there didn't feel like there was a lot of, shall we say, extraordinary weather around on the weekend. Yes, it was. I would say it's typical December weather almost, but I like I said, there may have been a torrential downfall. I don't know, but it just feels like this shouldn't happen.
Other teams around the region managed to get their games played. Yeah,
and I think the manager is the Blackburn manager has come out, and I won't say he's had a pop, but I think in an interview he's kind of almost suggested that some answers need to be, the conclusions need to be found why this is happening.
Yeah, this is the video you're talking about.
Yeah.
Just listen to the crowd. How many times does he want to do it? Okay, match off.
I mean, honest opinion, guys, is that unplayable?
I was getting ready to say the same thing. I didn't see any of those that made me think that was unplayable.
Okay. Now, of course, online on the socials, people like to make fun. So let me pull up the other video, which is going back into the past and showing what unplayable really is, or what is able to be played.
That's Bonds at his best when he can stretch for it like that.
Yes.
Proper football.
That's what I was talking
Covering
about
by
right
Boyce,
there.
even if he did have a bit of luck.
Yeah, we need
Holland.
more of this.
But at least the ball moves.
Holland surely was offside. This is Greaves. Still there, Greaves.
Yeah. What a goal.
Jimmy Greaves, isn't it?
Right, so
10 minutes of the match gone, and Jimmy Greaves has done it again. Scored on his debut for every club, for Chelsea, for Tottenham, for England, for AC Milan, and now for West Ham United.
Yeah. So, my opinion on this one is fuck them. It's their club, their pitch. They should lose. Because look, we're not at League Two now. We're not at League One, where clubs can't afford to deal with their plumbing, to deal with their pitch, blah blah blah, etc. I think you're at a stage now that it should be mandatory for your pitch to have sufficient draining for this heavy downpour. And in a scenario where a team comes up from League One, and let's say they've been struggling previously or didn't have a lot of cash, then this scenario is simply, look, if you haven't got it done, then you lose the match. If we abandon it, you lose your 3 points. Don't care if you're 3-0 up, 4-0 up, and there's 5 minutes of the match left. It's your problem. Now, if you have sufficient drainage and like it's really, really excessive thunderstorms and all of this, then you can maybe give a little bit of leeway in that scenario. And I would say, especially if multiple teams in the region had issues, or there was more than one abandonment, even across multiple leagues, that could kind of stand in your favor and say, yeah, you did your best. But this is ridiculous.
The thing I want to know is, in all the years Blackburn have been at Ewood Park and been at Premier League level, Championship, even League One level, I don't recall this happening before. Like even last season, I don't recall, and no one can sit here and tell me we've got more rainfall this year than we had last year. So it wasn't a problem last year, but it's a problem this. So what has changed? That's what I want to know. Or that, I suppose that's what the EFL want to know is, what are they doing different this season that they've done in previous seasons? Because whatever it is, it's obviously causing a problem.
You could argue, I would assume, that they haven't been maintaining their drains and they could be blocked, for one. However, interestingly, it came out during the week. I don't know if it's absolutely true or not, but I believe it is. It seems that it has been released by an official source that they did do a test on the ground to check the drainage and this, and it passed. And it passed above the 60% requirement. Now, they didn't specify exactly what that is. My assumption is that within a set time period, it will clear 60% of the water that's been dropped on the ground. That makes sense to me. And then, of course, excessive heavy rain consistently could waterlog the pitch. But yeah, the question I had in my head immediately is, okay, they passed the minimum basic standard of 60. Well, if they were at 62%, 65%, what are the rest of the teams in the Championship at? If you went and measured their pitches, are they at 90%? Because we don't know what the timescale is. If it was 60% within 5 minutes, within 3 minutes, like what exactly is the standard? It might not actually be that high. So, I think it's your pitch, your conditions. You should lose out unless you have sufficient reason to show you did your best and it's not your fault.
Yeah, I think the other thing is, I think the buck stops with the ownership or the people running the club, because not wanting to sound disrespectful for Oxford, but hey, Oxford can sort it out and don't have problems. Are you telling me that Oxford's pitch and stadium is far better than Ewood Park? I mean, no, it shouldn't be. So yeah, they just need to sort their shit out. Let's be honest.
So this is from the Daily Mail. Mike Keegan's reporting. The EFL are investigating Blackburn Rovers' second abandoned game of the season. If the pitch standards aren't met, the club could face a misconduct charge under EFL rules. And then apparently, I believe today, this is BBC Sport Lancashire, Blackburn Rovers boss Valerian Ismail has said he is willing to make sacrifices to his transfer budget if it means the club will reallocate those resources towards improving the pitch at Ewood Park.
You know what he's doing? What he is doing is he is hoping and praying that there's no serious sanctions. That's what he's doing. Yeah. He's trying to look like the good guy, because you can damn well know that they're not going to do it. If they're going to spend, they're going to spend. They're not, you know what I mean? Either they're going to be forced to do it with sanctions or they're not. Now, something I wanted to bring up here, I'm going to bring this back up again. So this is Blackburn Rovers. Obviously, they were playing Oxford. No, they weren't. That's their next match, sorry. So the abandoned match was Sheffield Wednesday, yeah?
Yes.
Right, so that's not up there because it didn't play. So look who they just played midweek. Ipswich. Why did they play Ipswich midweek? Because they were the only team that played.
Because they abandoned that game too.
Because they abandoned the previous match versus Ipswich. Could you imagine the uproar if that was the match that got abandoned?
It would have awesome.
If the same team had been hit twice.
That actually would have been awesome. Absolutely awesome. A little off topic, but the Scum Army threw it in the chat, and anyone feel sorry for Wolves? No, but here's the real question. Are they going to be the worst Premier League team of all time? Will they beat the points record of Derby? What was it, 12 points, I think? The lowest points total ever? Was it 12? Wolves are on 2, I think, right now.
Are they really on 2 points?
I think they're still on 2.
Yeah, they are. Oh, my God.
They may be the worst Premier League team ever of all time.
Oh, what a shame.
Well, let's hope half their team abandon them in January.
They'll end up coming down to the championship and destroy all of us. So is what it is.
Okay. So is that it on that one?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Seeing as we're linking into Sheffield Wednesday, let's talk about that a little bit. I heard a rumor this week that a couple of the bids may actually be joining forces. Did you hear this one?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I saw that the other day. I don't remember it exactly, but I remember there was something like that, something along those lines where there was 2 bidders that had gotten together.
Yeah, because there's still a few different people all trying to go for it, apparently. And now, how serious that rumor is, I don't know. Was someone just trying to suggest maybe they should join forces or not? Or was there actually someone saying that 2 of them have tried to join together? But anyway, it wouldn't be a bad idea. And the administrators had come out previously and said they won 30 million in order to be able to reach the threshold of 25% and cover all the debts. At least one club, it looks like multiple clubs have agreed that they will pay the 30 million kind of as a minimum. So it is very likely going to be a multi-bid situation where they might just keep bidding each other up for a while. And it was reported that this means that Chansiri will likely be able to get 15 million potentially back from debt that is owed to him from the club as well. So what do we think of that?
Makes sense in a way. Do we know there was a date given by the administrators, wasn't there, where they wanted all?
They extended because there was serious offers still finalizing details. So yes, they extended that date. I don't believe that they have actually given a new date. It was just we're working with the parties, I think, to get things finalized. So they said that they're not going to enforce the date because it would be unfair, that they need to push for every money they can, and that the bidders that are still finalizing are basically serious bidders. So they're going to give them the time.
The only disappointing thing from a Sheffield Wednesday point of view is it's clearly not going to happen or go through before the January transfer window. So any hope of
unlikely, yeah.
I mean, there's no way they were surviving anyway, but any hope of being able to sort of bring in some players, potentially ready for next season stuff is gone out the window. So yeah, I'd say that's the only shame from that side of things. But you just hope they sort it out quickly, because I think it just feels like this has rumbled on a little bit too long for my liking now.
Yeah. Okay. Then I guess that's it, really. It's just an ongoing situation. Not too much more to say. There has been a lot of talk. I'll just mention it briefly. There has been a lot of talk online with people saying, they're upset that Chansiri is getting potentially 15 million for the club. What do you want, guys? It's his club at the end of the day. He has a lot of debt put on the club, and the more people pay for the club, the more he's going to get. That's just like a natural end to things. You can say that's unfair, but the rules are not that every other debtor is going to get 100% before Chansiri gets a penny. He's treated like everybody else. So yeah, you might not like it, but what can you do? I don't see much point in moaning too much about it. It is what it is, really.
As much as he's an idiot, we need to also respect that the guy's played about 150 million of his own money into that football club in his tenure. Rightly or wrongly, if he gets 15 million out the back end of it, let's be honest, that's it's not great for him, is it? So, yeah. But he is legally entitled to something, and that's that's the way it is.
Yeah. There is one question here from Scott. We've answered it before, but just in case anyone isn't aware of it, Scott is asking, is the company that owns the ground also in administration? Yes, there is a separate company that owns the ground from the actual stadium itself, but both companies were placed into administration. They were then naturally both given to the same administrators to deal with, because you would obviously want them to go as a package. So yes, both companies are in administration. They're discussing it as if it's one company, but technically it is two. They're treating it as one deal, unless and until they find out that there's some form of bid that works for one part only, which is highly, highly unlikely. So it's no, both parts will generally be sold to the one bidder and get what they want. So yes, no issues there with parts of it being in different companies and having problems going forward. So cheers for that, Scott. Now, there was another comment here that came to my mind. It was from Scum Army. Who are your guys' top six? But leaving that bit aside, will you welcome 8th place playoffs next season? I heard about this going back ages ago, and we've never discussed it. Is that official for next season, or is it still under discussion, or have you even heard about it?
I don't think they voted on it yet.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I don't think it's been voted on yet.
Yeah.
I remember it. I remember the story coming out when it was being kind of like pitched,
discussed,
but I don't.
Yeah.
I sadly think it gets voted in, because I think everyone's going to vote for an extra chance to get to the Premier League, aren't they? So everyone's going to say yes to it. I don't agree with it, but But I think I think their ambition was to always bring it in next season onwards anyway. So I think as long as it's, I can't remember the cutoff, but I've got a feeling it's somewhere around Easter or something like that. It needs to be decided. I have a feeling.
Yeah. So I do remember this coming up, and I remember wanting to discuss this. And did we actually discuss it, or?
Oh, I thought we did. I feel like we did.
Yeah,
we've at least talked. Maybe if we didn't do it on a show, we definitely did it amongst ourselves.
I was trying to
Yeah.
wonder if we do or not. So let's briefly hit it, just because it's interesting and it is championship. So we're quite familiar with this because this is the same standard as the National League have to get out. But for the National League, it's only one promotion, which is first, and then second to seventh. Yeah. Whereas obviously, if we bring it in the championship, it's going to be third to eighth. So you have 6 teams. Position 2 and 3 will go through to essentially the second round. And then in the first round, you have playoffs from third playing 8th. And I've done that round. Not third and fourth go through. So 5th playing 8th and 6th playing 7th. They play off first, and the winner of that goes through then to play third and fourth. So 1 match for them and 2 for the lower teams. So pros and cons. You have 1 less match to worry about, which you should be able to do. Some people turn around and say, well, actually, wouldn't you like to be the team on form that is coming into that final playoff, having just beaten someone in good mood? You know, others are saying, well, no, don't risk injury in that first match. Don't risk being tired. Wrexham doesn't seem to do too well every time we have a break. International breaks, we come back and often have an absolute crapper of a first match. So, yeah, what do you think on that one?
I don't remember, and I don't remember if it was ever said for sure. Would the first leg, or would the first round matchups, would those be a 1 leg or 2 leg?
1 leg.
1 leg. Okay. So would the semifinals then still be 2 leg like they are now? So you'd have 1 leg, then the 2 semifinals would be 2 leg, and then the final. It's just
I think the 1-legged games, the higher placed team is the home team, and in a one-off game.
Right.
Is what they're saying.
Okay.
No, but guys, surely the final matches are one-off because they're going to be played at Wembley.
The final would be, but not the semifinal.
Yes, sorry. Yes, I forgot. There's 3 levels now. Of
There's
course.
3 levels. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I misstated that actually when I was saying it.
Yeah.
As well, because it went down to 4, and it has to go down to 2 for the final. Yes. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting one because if you think about it, okay, so 2 and 3 go through to the second part, but then you have 4, 5. No, keep getting this wrong. 1 and 2 go through. 3, 4 also go through. 5, 6, 7, and 8. So 5 play 8, and 6 play 7. So who gets who in the next round? Because you could have 8th place win and go through. So
I assume the lowest seed would go to the.
That's the way I think they should do it. Don't have it as a bracket.
Right.
That you automatically go up, but it's whoever is the lowest seed that remains ends up playing the 3rd place.
3rd, yeah.
Yeah, and then 4th get whoever the other team is. I think that's the way I would prefer to do it.
Yeah.
I hate the idea. I won't lie. I just think the playoffs are brilliant how they are. Why try and fix something that isn't broken in that regard? I understand every club outside the parachute teams are probably going to vote for it because it gives them a better chance to get to the promised land. The truth of the matter is, if there is still a decent parachute team in the playoffs, which there usually is,
yeah.
I mean, we saw last season, Sheffield United absolutely demolish Bristol, and Bristol got into the playoffs in 6th place with one of the lowest points tallies. And yes, it was the league and all that. I'm not sure. I get the whole sort of ethos behind it of saying it's more opportunities for other clubs and more underdogs and all that. But say for example, 8th place or whatever it is, not fluke, but managed to get through to the final against the parachute team and finish 3rd, for argument's sake, or whatever it is. Do we really want to play a final, which is like potentially one massive club against a massive underdog? I don't know.
Yeah, because in the most cases, they're going to get absolutely destroyed. So I decided to jump back to last season. So if you had third place go through to the final with 90 points, Sheffield United, and they're playing eighth place Millwall with 66 points and a -2 goal difference. Two outcomes there. Obviously, the most likely is that they get absolutely battered, and it's not that interesting a match for a final at Wembley. Or, of course, if they do manage to get through, could you imagine an eighth placed championship team with 66 points going up to the Premier League?
Yeah, like I said, it just doesn't sit well with me. I know it's opportunities for more clubs, but the league is the league for a reason. And if you're the eighth best team, you're the eighth best team. I'm not sure finishing eighth merits the chances of getting promoted. I mean, it's like you said, if somebody finished with 60 odd points and a team that finishes third on 90 odd points, I just, that doesn't sit well with me. And I know it's a one-off game and things can happen and all that, but for me, the league needs to be respected, or should I say, the final league table also needs to be respected.
Okay, Scum Army is an interesting one here. John pissing on small clubs parade before it's happened. Now,
exactly.
Yes. Okay. I kind of agree with that. Now, I will say though, and I'll put it out there. Yes, I think the fairest thing is actually the top three to go up and have no bloody playoffs. But the playoffs are fun and they create extra cash. And what it does is it stops teams having nothing to play for come March, because if you can't make the top spot, you need playoffs. But we already have that, and at least for championship, a lot of teams are close because it's tough and they stay close right down to the end. So you don't particularly need 7th and 8th for that. But I know it's easy to say that because for your team, John, and for ours, we both expect our teams to be able to get to the promised land without this. That if you give enough seasons, let's say the next 3, we would expect to be hitting playoffs, first of all. And then if it keeps going and we keep investing, we would even have a shot of the top 2 in a certain year where some of the teams that come down from the Premier League don't do great. You would have a shot at automatics with enough years under the belt. So we don't need this. We're not one of those teams that is scraping or is likely to be scraping in 7th or 8th and hoping and praying for a miracle to get to the Prem.
I think my worry is it is all about money and it's all about eyes and viewing figures and all that. The thing I would worry about is the playoff final is one of the most heavily watched fixtures because of what's at stake. And usually they're not very one-sided affairs. They're very tight and very close games. I'm not convinced, like you said, if you, let's say for argument, you have 2 seasons running with this new format and you have a team that finishes 3rd and a team that finishes 7th or whatever it is, get to the final, and the team that finishes 3rd absolutely batters the final. And the final's a non-event. It's kind of like, it's over by the 20th minute sort of thing. That is not going to gain people. People will start not bothering watching that game in future years because they're just going to go, well, what's the point? The team that finishes 3rd always wins. At the moment, there's enough jeopardy about it where you'd say, like Sheffield United last season against Sunderland, everyone expected Sheffield United to win, but there was enough there was a smaller gap between the clubs that actually an upset could happen. I'm just not convinced it would look good in future years. If you had the 2 best teams make to the final, then yes, of course, it would still be great games to watch, but it wouldn't take a lot for it to swing the other way.
But ultimately, are we not kind of betting on something that's extremely unlikely to happen? We know most season the bottom clubs are not going to make it through 2 levels of highly qualified kind of playoff teams. So how often is this going to happen? So we said, yes, if it happens a couple of seasons in a row, people go, what's the point? But A, how likely is it to happen? B, how likely is it to happen in a row? And then C, even if it does happen in alternate years, if you have a 3rd versus 4th in between them, does everybody forget? Does it matter?
I suppose they're banking on the fact that it shouldn't matter, should it?
it shouldn't matter. But when it does happen, I guess they're banking on the fact, ooh, interesting this season. Can 8th place really screw over someone? And I guess what you could actually... Now, here's something we did not think about. What do we think the numbers are going to be like if in that second round, the 3rd place and 4th place teams both get knocked out? And you have something like a 6th and an 8th, or a 7th and an 8th in the finals. Could you imagine that in one for history?
Bristol versus Millwall playoff final for a place in the Premier League. That's going to get some eyeballs watching that, isn't it? Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm just old-fashioned and I don't like change. I
do agree with you. I don't think it's necessary. Not in our league. But I wonder is the idea like to run this through every league? Because what they want to do is they want to change the other end as well and have even number of demotions and promotions down the whole way. But that's not going to change for a while. I think that was said when they were talking about this, is that the idea was to bring it into Championship first and then roll it out through the rest of the leagues, when they were also going to get an agreement for an extra team to come up into League 2. But the rest of the leagues could wait until both sides of that coin were sorted and resolved. But that was the plan, is to roll it down through all the leagues and make this happen, so that the fewest number of teams stuck in the middle have nothing to play for towards the end of the season.
Do you know, the other thing, I've just had a thought that bringing this in also has a detrimental effect to the league, is that I think it will encourage a lot more teams in January to go silly and spend money. Because the playoffs are, if it goes down to 8th, you're going to have everyone like in 14th come January go, do you know what? We've got a chance, Yeah. I mean, it's going to happen, let's face it, but I don't like it.
Okay. Stories? Have we more stories? What are we going to hit next?
Was there anything? I'm trying to think what else we had. See, this is what happens when we decide to go early and then don't plan out a show.
And Aaron doesn't send me the link early enough.
It's John's fault for not getting on here in time. I'm blaming him.
That's okay.
That's all right. You guys blame me enough today. That was terrible. You guys should be ashamed of yourself. Somehow,
okay.
Jen left me hanging on the weekend, and somehow I got in trouble for it.
Yeah. Okay. A couple of weeks ago, I said I wanted to talk about just let's make shit up and make everything better. Marketing, all this sort of carry on. And I've just seen something here that has reminded me of some of the craziness that I would like to do. So let's bring it up. So Sean, BCFC, you know what would be kind of a fun idea? I love it when it starts like that. The loser of the playoff final plays 17th in the Premier for a relegation playoff for a potential 4th chance. So I've considered something like that before, but the problem is the gap between the Prem and the Championship is too wide. But it's not necessarily a terrible idea. So if you had something like the bottom 3 of the Premier League had to play off 1-on-1 versus the top 3 of the Championship. So each season you do not know if how many people are going to go up or if any are going to go up. So you have individual playoffs. So like 17th plays number 3, 18th plays number 2, and 20th or whatever, 20th plays number 1. So that would be one way of doing playoffs without playoffs. So the reason this was because of the EFL and the Premier League kind of playing games with each other and not figuring out a deal between them and the regulator coming in. So I was saying that at some point the Prem might just turn around and say, well, look, we're going to do a Prem 2. And we're going to steal the next league down and take them, and we'll get a better TV deal, and we'll share more fairly and have a more even divide between them. So lots of people, Benjamin Bloom has discussed that a few times actually. He thinks at some point Prem 2 will come in, and I kind of agree with that one a little bit. Now, here's one for you. If that happened and you had a Prem 1 and Prem 2, right? Let's say it's 20 and 20, so you have 40 teams. What I would love to do is, say every 4 years or 3 years or whatever number you choose, you have a Super League. So you actually join both leagues together and everybody plays everybody once. And it's a little bit random as to who you play at home and who you play away. And then you get a grading of every team between the two leagues. Now, again, there has to be some whatever reduction between the gap between the two leagues. But wouldn't that be interesting? Every so many seasons you have a really, really kind of interesting, both leagues play against each other.
I think all this sounds horrible.
Why?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Aaron's like me. I hate change. Don't change. I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they haven't done some sort of all-star friendly game or something. You know, I think somebody said like a Premier League Norths and Premier League. I'm surprised they haven't done something like that in the Premier League as a bit of a cash cow friendly pre-season or post-season game. But how feasible that is to do, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, see, this is actually where my mind went. This sounds very American, and I get plenty of it. I kind of enjoy the way you guys do it over there. So let's just
but see,
leave it alone.
now you still have promotion relegation even in that season, because it's the bottom 3 Prem 1 teams get relegated no matter where they are. Doesn't matter how far down you finish. And the top 3 Prem 2 teams would be the ones getting promoted, no matter where you end up on the table. So in theory, you could have like the top team from Prem 2 actually make it to like 17th spot in the combined league. But it doesn't matter. They're the highest of the teams in League 2. And someone said here, Habsification, he said, that would be a long season. It wouldn't. It'd be exactly the same season, because if you recall, actually there'd be one extra match, because I said you'd only have one match against each team. You wouldn't have home and away. You would have the same equal number of home and away, pretty much, but you would only play each other once.
I've got a crazy change. Instead of all
Go
that,
on. Not just me.
let's just ban parachute payments. Let's just do that. Let's just get rid of parachute payments. have the the teams coming down don't get a benefited load of money for failure, and then it's if you can't afford to keep all your players, well, sucks. You got to sell them.
Okay, so what benefit do you see from this?
It makes the championship more even as a more competitive league, because at the moment the parachute teams have such a leg up with a financial advantage compared to everyone else, plus the squad that they've already got come down with. It's got worse over recent. I'm yet to have somebody realistically explain to me why parachute payments are actually needed.
I think the point is, I think what the best I've been able to understand it is because, but I know exactly what your response is, and it's my response, but I'll tell you what they'll say is because the wages and stuff are so high, when you come down, you need the extra money to financially stabilize, what I mean? Which makes sense. But to your point, sell the player.
Yeah.
Get rid of them. Drop your wage bill.
Shock horror, you failed, you got relegated, sell your expensive players like everyone normally does.
So Scott Murray says there it's to do with player wages. Yes, it is. So what some people have suggested along with that is that you have to enforce mandatory terms on everybody's contract in the league, which is that if you are relegated between the leagues, you have a standard amount of your wage that you have to sacrifice. Now, let's say it was 40% or whatever going between the Prem to the Championship. Okay, that's fine. Your entire team is wiped by 40%. The problem potentially that will lead to is when you're coming up into the Premier League, nobody wants to go to you because there's going to be an enforced guaranteed 40%. And although every team has it, it's going to force people to try and stick with the teams that have a better shot of staying up. But at a certain point, there's only so many teams and so many players available. You have to go to a team somewhere if you want to stay in the Premier League. So
I may be too simplistic about this, but I don't understand why we need to have like rules, caps, things in. It's one of these. It's you get relegated. Sell some of your high. If you don't have the money to keep the players that you've come down with, well, sorry, sell them. Ultimately, if you lost your job and got a new job and it didn't pay as good as the old job, well, you're not going to spend the same amount of money as you did before because you can't afford to. Same goes with football clubs.
Right. So what would happen then if you had pure yo-yo clubs where when they go up into the Prem, they spend nothing? They literally keep their Championship team. They don't buy new players. They spend a season in the Prem. They take the 200 million and they score 5 points for the season. And then they come back down to the Championship and they're absolutely loaded. And then they come back up again. That's fine. That's their prerogative. Just go up and suck the 200 million and come back down.
Luton did it. Luton went up, didn't spend much money, came back down.
Yeah, and Sean has an interesting point here. Eventually, yo-yo teams will fall apart because they'll get it wrong, or they'll stay up, which is an interesting point because if you do a perfect yo-yo and go up and down and keep your money and don't spend it, then you have a war chest for fighting in the Prem, don't you?
Yeah,
like at some point you spend it to stay.
I think somewhere along the lines the parachute payments have morphed into something which they weren't ever really intended to be.
Yeah.
And the problem is now essentially you get a huge benefit from getting you are essentially rewarded for failure because you get relegated, you get a huge parachute pay. And for me, at the moment, it's too big of a gulf. This is why we always end up with a problem now where a parachute team have to essentially do a Leicester or they have to do a Sheffield United and basically fall apart by making a stupid managerial decision or just, essentially chaos in the boardroom. Because realistically, the amount of money, they shouldn't fail other than that. That's not competitive. There has to be some it needs to be brought back down to sort of meaning where, you can clubs that are run properly have an actual genuine chance of actually doing something. This is why I know the Premier League money and all that side of things, but this whole yo-yo club thing it needs to stop. It has to stop because ultimately people say they don't want a closed off league. I mean, it's practically like that already, isn't it? I mean, we're getting the same clubs going up and down and have done for the last, I don't know, yes, you'll get the odd exception of a Luton, but it ain't really changing, is it? I mean, we've got a Preston fan in the chat, I mean, in all respect, he probably never going to see his side play in the Premier League because of the way that the rules are and the way it's all set out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough one. It is, but I agree about the parachute payments. I think it's wrong. It's screwing over our league and not theirs. My opinion on parachute payments is it should be the other way around. Is when you get into the Premier League, because of the gulf between the two, they should be giving you extra.
Well,
and you should have to spend it.
the funny thing about that is too is the way and I don't know how the new rules will affect this. I haven't looked into it, but like as of this season, when you got promoted, you get promoted up to the Prem. You actually, because you were in the championship the last 3 seasons, you're not allowed to spend as much as the teams in the Prem because you can only because of the money. The percentage,
The
like
rolling 3 year.
you're only allowed to spend so much, and so you can't lose it. You weren't allowed to lose as much as the percentage. So it's like, so not only are you the new team in the league, you're not allowed to spend as much as they do. Like or lose as much, I guess, at least. So it's just
well, that it has changed now with the new rules. But
so I wonder how that will affect.
Yeah,
That'll be
but
interesting.
that's on the old rules. That's even worse for our two teams now
Mhm.
because we've come from League One directly into Championship, and then if one of us goes up now, it's directly into the Prem, which is even worse because most teams will be 2 seasons in Championship, and then one in Premier League, like you're saying, and will slowly build up if they remain in the Championship. So it's even worse if one of us goes up this year because of back to back. But yeah, that's changing now because of new rules.
I'm curious to how that works. I'm still curious to see what they do with if they leave the championship rules as is, or if they change them now because the Prem rules are changing. You know what I mean? I wonder how all that gets addressed. It'll be interesting. Because because now basically the championship's kind of all by itself using the system it's using. Because League One, League Two have a kind of a different different way of doing it. And then now the Prem have a different way of doing it. So it seems like the championship's going to change somehow. Not sure what they'll do to make it work, but
it'll be interesting, won't it? Because I would imagine if you ask the EFL, would they like to change the financial fair play rules in the Championship? I bet they would say no, because the financial fair play rules in the Championship, they would argue, has worked. Because yes, you've got the Leicester thing, but that was Leicester basically playing a bit of silly bastards between Premier League and Championship. The rest of the Championship, they would argue that under the current rules is actually sort of settled down now. And there was a time before we got relegated where pretty much every season there was 2 or 3 clubs teetering on the edge of basically breaking FFP. It was almost like a running saga of, okay, which clubs are going to get points deductions for FFP this season. That hasn't really happened now for a couple of seasons. So the EFL will argue, I reckon, there's no need to change the rules because they work. I would imagine the clubs, however, would have a difference of opinion where they probably want to change the rules because from the outside looking in, it feels like the rules are getting changed to be a bit more lax in the sense of it allows a bit more spending, whereas I think the EFL want to contain it how it is now. But yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's the clubs vote for the rules, so they're going to vote to change them if it makes more financial sense for everyone.
I just wonder. I've not really thought this through, and so it's kind of an interesting topic. I just wonder if because of the way the rules are now, the PSR rules compared to the new rules that are going into effect next season in the Prem, will that be a hindrance to the teams getting promoted? Will that negatively affect them? You know what I mean? If they had a more, you understand what I'm saying? Like,
okay, no, it won't actually. It will be a help to the newly promoted teams if they wish to spend money.
PSR. So PSR in the championship.
You're talking about a championship team coming up to the Prem,
right? But I'm saying, would under the current rules, okay?
Yeah.
Would you be able to? So if a team under the current rules, would they be able to spend more if the championship went to a rule set similar to the Prem? that they've just adopted.
in the championship.
Yeah, in the
But they
championship.
don't spend.
If the championship changed their rules to match up more closely, would they be able to spend more in the championship so that maybe they could close that gap somewhat? Possibly. You see what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah, I do know what you're saying. I haven't looked at that
Me neither. I haven't really
specifically.
dug into
My suspicion is no, because a similar thing should probably happen to the Premier League, but I actually think it's going to work the other way around. In the Prem, they have it slightly restricted that it works better for the lower teams. The lower teams will get to spend a little bit more starting off, based on the revenues that are coming in, and that's because of the huge boost of TV money. The TV money is counted, which is going to give you a massive increase in your number.
Right.
So the lower end teams will ultimately end up better off starting in the Prem. Some of the high end teams will lose out a little bit, but not too much. Now in the championship, I think it'll work the opposite way around because it's based on your income and your gross income. So any team that actually has high income will make out like bandits then, because they'll be on 85% or whatever version they use based on your income. But a huge amount of teams in the championship at the lower end is making fuck all. They are on really, really poor revenues. And that's part of the reason that they have very high debts. So everything is changing from net, which is after all your expenses, to gross. So just purely what do you bring in? And that's what's going to tell you how much you can spend on your squad cost, which is the main thing, essentially, that's there. So I've been looking into this a little bit, and it's the accountants are going to have a field day with this. They are going to play silly buggers with all the accounting figures. And to give you a simple example of how that's going to affect is your jersey deal. So at the moment in the top end of the Premier League, most of the clubs have an all-encompassing deal with Nike or whoever. So they turn around to Nike and say, right, you have the license to do whatever you want, sell whatever you want. These are the 3 color jerseys that we've decided between us. You make this because we're going to wear it, and you give us $1 billion over 10 years. Right? But that is essentially net profit. So, okay, divide that down. It's 100 million a year going into your figures. Well, now that they're working on gross, you would actually be better the other way around. You would be better off bringing in the stock yourself and then doing a deal and selling it. And it doesn't matter what you sell it for. You could actually bring in 100 million worth of stock and sell it for 100 million. Just cover your cost, make no profit. But if you can shift it out the door at bargain basement prices, then it's included in your figures. And then you can spend 85% of that on your players. So they're going to play with figures everywhere. And this is where, if you have other deals at your stadium, so if you do a concert, that is income. That is going to be covered by the club. And Birmingham are going to make out like absolute bandits with these new rules because of all the stuff they're doing around the grounds. Most of that will be included in their figures. So they are going to have huge ability to spend on their team if they wish to do so.
370 million a year, it's estimated income the sports quarter will make us.
Just on sports quarter.
Just the sports quarter, all under the football name.
Yeah. Now, in future years, I'm sure they're going to put in restrictions as to what's counted, what's not. Other teams will bitch when they see Birmingham get all of this. It'll be like a Chelsea scenario. Some people will call it cheating, whereas in this case, I don't really think it is necessarily cheating. But yeah. So like, okay, so then you bring in a concert and they come to your ground and you say to them, okay, well, you know what, because of the way our accounting processes work, how about this? We will actually sell your t-shirts for you. So we'll we'll charge you more for the ground, so that's the higher value, but then we'll buy in all the cost of the t-shirts and we'll print them and then we'll sell them at the ground and give it back to you. So they end up with the same amount of money, but you inflate your gross. You inflate before you take away all your expenses. So you would want to be selling the t-shirts on their behalf. All this sort of carry on is going to inflate the gross at the start. Something like charitable donation, the miners' rescue. Okay, if we want to do some charitable deal where the miners' rescue want to do something at the stadium, okay, so you want to do it at the stadium. So instead of us just allowing you to do it for free, what we're going to do is you're going to use one of our rooms for it, and we're going to charge you £50,000 rental for that room in order to have your miners' rescue. And they'll say, oh, well, look, you gave it to us for free. Why do we want to spend 50 grand? Well, we're going to give you a donation of 50 grand. And you're going to spend it on the rental of the room. Now what's happened? We've just circulated that money backwards. And now we have 50 grand in rental that's coming in as gross income to the club.
Oh, so
there's a million ways to cheat gross.
Right. So it's just about gross. Then losing money makes no difference.
Doesn't really matter, yeah.
I like that.
But of course, you don't want to lose money in order to gain the ability
you don't
to
want
spend
to lose
on your
money.
club.
Well, yeah, in the end, you don't want to be losing money.
Yeah, but if you break even, anything you can do to break even increases your gross. So there's lots of ways you can play with that. Like I said, you can give a free donation to someone and then charge them rent for the same value. Then you can funnel as much money as you want into it if you have enough reasons to do it. It's like your women's team. I'm sure clubs are going to start charging women's team for rental of the ground and stuff like this. There'll be ways around it because now I think your women's team is no longer counted as free. So all the expenses of that. So you're paying the expenses yourself, right? So here's one. You're covering the expenses of the women, but now it counts. So instead, what you're going to do is you're going to charge the women for using your pitch. That's going to be gross income. It's going to be rental. You're paying it to yourself, but it counts.
We'll be building our women a whole new stadium. We'll charge them rent probably.
And Chelsea are going to sell themselves to themselves. Yeah, I guarantee you Chelsea's going to come up with all sorts of fun. And every other team is going to do it as well.
And the stupid thing is, I know sort of Scum Army sort of said, Sports Quarter will be built, then they'll change the rules. The thing is, the governing bodies want to go this way because they've been driving football clubs to make money. That's what they've been trying. Yeah. They've been driving this theory of you've got to make money, income, growth. That's what it's all been generated. Right? You only got to look at what Man United are trying to do. We're trying to do, Tottenham Stadium. It's where it's all going. That's how football is going to be for the next 20, 30 years. It's all going to be essentially around what amount of money you earn as a football club. What are you generating income wise? Not necessarily how deep your owners' pockets are and all that. Yes, that has a big factor into it, but ultimately the financial rules will be dictated around how much money or income you bring in.
Yeah, so Bruce has an example here. So if Wrexham women make the Women's Europa Cup, Wrexham charges the racecourse rent for the Women's European Games, yes, when they're playing at home and they bring in European teams. Yeah, that's what they'll do. Instead of playing it at the Rock, which is too small, they'll play it at the racecourse and they'll charge them fees for using the racecourse. And then that will be extra income into the club. And ultimately, it doesn't matter because the club is paying for everything anyway.
It's paying for it, yeah.
And it's just an accounting term. And Mr. Make Me has added, all this will do is increase the cost of players as teams will theoretically have more money to spend. I don't quite agree with this. I get the point, and potentially, yes. But what it will do for smart clubs is it will just allow them to spend whatever they want to spend. It doesn't necessarily mean that the players will cost more. It just means the clubs will be allowed to spend whatever they want to spend if they can be creative enough with their accounting. So you're talking about your sports quarter. For me now, something here that's is an obvious is, even leaving aside the sports quarter, if you buy enough ground or have enough space, what you would potentially want to do is have an exhibition hall. You'd want to add an exhibition space where you're renting it out every single day. There's events happening all the time, and you could potentially even rent out your ground beside the event space, depending on what's happening and what they need the space for, or etc. So
yeah, they're building for us. They're building, what was it, a 10,000 seater women's stadium, which will be used by academy players. They're building an 18,000 seater arena, which will be open all year round for anything you can fill it with, hotels, everything, all on the sports quarter grounds, all under the club's umbrella.
Yeah. And in theory, it's a good way of doing it, because what it does is it risks the profits of the sports quarter in covering the debts of the club if you screw it up. If you buy in a load of players and they do nothing for you, and you get relegated or whatever, all those debts, if you end up with them, if you do really bad, the sports quarter will have to absorb it as one large company. And then the opposite is true. If you actually get a lot of profit and you work the business side of it well, that's just going to funnel cash into your club to make it successful. So in theory, it's not a bad idea if you can do that. Like, if Birmingham can pull this off and can bring in 50% of their income from the sports quarter, pushing into their football, and then they can afford the best team available, and they're not doing it with loans and they're not doing it with debts, why can't they get into the top four? And that might be the way you have to do it in future. This is the way clubs may have to work, is when you buy a club, you may have to do this. You may have to develop the area around. And what it might mean is you buy a club with a shitty ground, and the first thing you do is you find a mass amount of space and you build everything around it. And you have to start running a multi-purpose business.
Peony Jeff, I wish Peony had a podcast like this. This is it. Get it in here.
This is technically the Champ Chat, so it is your podcast,
Champ
Jeff.
Chat. This is everybody. We're open every Sunday. We Ken does a call-in show. Everybody, so he opens it up. Everybody can come in. We're always open to having people in. So yeah, every week, man, get in here.
But on that bombshell, that Birmingham are going to get a ton of money from this sports quarter, and they're going to be a top 4 team in the near future.
Just think how much they could overpay for a penalty taker with all that money. Crazy.
Do you know what's worse? We're probably just loaning him out for free somewhere to score penalties against you, Aaron.
Probably, it happens.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll loan him out to us to score penalties for us, but we don't get penalties, so he wouldn't have much to do.
So hang on, Sean just threw one up here. At the Habsification, the problem is not every council is going to allow it. If we have the sports quarter in East Birmingham, Coventry aren't going to risk it being so close to it. Yeah, well, tough shit for Coventry. and that's fair, right? And here is part of the problem. If you have a reasonably nice stadium and you have decent fans and you're making some income but not amazing, and you have nowhere to grow, you could be completely stifled by this in 20 years time, I suppose, at this stage, once everybody figures out the way to actually do this and to push money into the situation. You could have outside owners coming into the championship, finding a club, like I said, with a horrendous ground that they can dump, and finding a council who is willing to work with them and say, right, this is what we want to do. We want to develop a massive stadium with a sports quarter. We want to work with you. We want you to put in all the infrastructure. We're going to do this massive 2 billion investment. We're going to work together. That's going to drive the football club, and we want to take over. Same thing. Somebody else can follow the model.
it's also having the, shall we say, the desire and the money to back it up as well. I mean,
Yeah.
It's like you said about Coventry. Yes, the councils will have a say, but I think the sports quarter area is I think it's around about 100 and I think it's 130 or 140 acre site now. Or it might even be more than that. But our owners have forked out tens of millions of pounds to buy the land.
Mm-hmm.
They put their money where their mouth is when it's derelict right now. So they've gone out and spent a lot of money to back it up and say no, we are going to build it. So you've also got to have the right people in charge. Willing to put their hands in the pockets to begin with and have the vision to do it. So
I got a start comment here. I'll pull it up. Matt White, does this mean Wrexham could tie in the brewery development area somehow?
Yes, if it's tied in under the same company. Yes, they could. They could add it. They could essentially make a part of the ground, but in a separate space. Yes.
Right.
I doubt it will be, because they are separate ventures, and I think they have a separate name for it as well in the ownership. I think they formed a separate company for that, if I'm correct.
I don't remember.
I'm not perfectly sure. I'd have to go back and look, but I think they did form a separate company for it. If it's not, if it is the same, or Mac Reynolds and whatever they changed it to when they brought in the Allens, if that's the same company they're using for both, then technically, yes, that would be just the beer garden centre with a brewery on the side and with everything else. And now, how far are they going to allow this to go, right? Because here's one example. That's a brewery. So yes, the beer garden for visitors is fine for the football side of it. What happens if Wrexham Lager becomes a brand global and starts bringing in cash? I know it is, but I mean on a large scale. I don't know how much money they're making now.
Yeah.
But what if it became a massive international brand that actually the revenues dwarfed the club at the moment? What would they do then? Would this be allowed? Because this is the first time I've just thought about this. What if it happens the other way around? What if Guinness now decide to buy a football club and they buy it with the same company that they have their Guinness holdings, Diageo or whatever? What if Diageo decides to buy a club? If they link the two together and Diageo owns the club, is that now footballing revenue that's permitted? So, like, where is this going to be allowed and not allowed? They're going to have to put limits on all of this. It's an interesting one.
Where does the line in the sand get drawn, so to speak?
And they're going to be drawing this for the next 20 years.
Oh, it's going to be interesting.
But I think at least we have owners who will work within these limits. And will figure ways to work nicely within the limits, So I think for us, it could be potentially huge. Obviously, for Birmingham, they're already doing it. That is going to be huge for them. That's going to drive their ability to buy players in the future and be well within the limits, depending on what they want to invest. The owners, how much they want to push it. But a lot of teams are going to get caught by this, that they're not going to be able to do it. And a lot of teams are doing it through academies and players. And that's fine. That's one route of doing it. But this is now a new route. And of course, teams are going to do both. They're going to do this and they're going to do academies and they're going to do everything else.
I listened to a local podcast, it's football related, but also a bit sort of business related a few weeks back. And they were talking about the sports quarter, and they also mentioned about Wrexham and all this. And they were saying, there's quite a few clubs in the Premier League which have just kind of lived off the status quo of how it is and how it has been for the last sort of decade or so. And they were saying that they potentially, unless they change the ethos and the business model of their football clubs, they're going to get caught out by this, because they were saying, the likes of Birmingham and Wrexham will eventually get to the Premier League, and they have this beast of a money-making, generating income, which they will just surpass these sort of clubs. And then he said, and as this guy was saying, he said that realistically, these clubs needed to have changed business model years ago. Even doing it now is probably going to be a little bit too late in the day. But he says, you mentioned a few clubs in the Premier League, and he said, but they appear to not be doing anything in regards to this sort of, potential problem on the horizon. But it will certainly be interesting, because there is a lot of Premier League clubs in there which you'd say with like this, money making or money generating, is a lot of them are just living off Premier League money, income from TV deals and stuff like. And as you say, player sales and the odd academy sale, and Wolves have been. Let's face it, Wolves have been caught out this season. If both of us get up into the Premier League and other Championship clubs that follow suit and start doing similar sort of things, all of a sudden it's kind of like, there'll be a few nervous clubs in the Premier League looking over their shoulder, and one season it's just hit them like a freight train, and all of a sudden they're back down in the Championship for the first time in decades.
That was something I was going to ask you earlier, and I forgot to. Will Wolves recall Doyle, you think?
They can't.
Can't?
There's no recall option.
Wow. That was dumb.
So yeah, not possible. I know it got mentioned a few weeks back, actually. There was a few talks about it, but no, it's confirmed that there's no recall option at all.
Okay, I pulled this comment up, which kind of summarizes it a little bit. Every club will have to find ways to generate massive income to support their club. It's the Tottenham model. Yeah, Tottenham have basically showed what to do with a new stadium and how to generate income from it, and that is driving their club. So this is a new version of that is potentially becoming expansive until they figure out that they have to rein it in. Sorry, they have to rein it in somewhere. But a lot of people have actually said that why can't clubs just spend whatever they want? If you can generate enough income this way, you can spend whatever you want. That gets you to where you want to be. So
I got an idea for a creative way to make some money. Okay, hear me out.
Back on YouTube?
Yeah. Listen. So no. Even better. Hear me out on this. So right now over in the UK, if a 10-year-old joins the academy, what's the cost to them? Anything? Nothing?
No. Very, very little.
Okay.
Maybe some admin fee
Now,
or something, but I think it's pretty much covered.
Now, what if a team decided we're going to call them scholarships. So we're going to charge you this much a year to come play for us, but we're going to give you a scholarship so you don't have to pay it. But we're going to charge you this. And then they're going to say, if anybody tries to question it, you say, well, in America, they charge thousands, because they do. I know this for a fact because I'm paying it. Thousands of dollars. And then when you have an academy with hundreds of players in it, paying thousands of dollars each, and then you stow it into your... It's not going to make you mega money, but it could make you money. I'm just saying. They could fund a penalty taker, maybe. I just want to, because clubs are going to be finding stupid ways like that to, you see what I'm saying? To make money.
Okay, right. I knew I was going to bring this up. You see, when you said that, the kids are called scholars.
Right.
Anyway, okay. So in general, yes, English football academies can and usually do charge players or their parents' fees, but it depends on the type of academy. So that's probably the private side of it. Professional clubs, category 1 to 3 academies, are prohibited by the Premier League and EFL rules. They cannot charge.
So they're not allowed to. So they couldn't do that.
They're not allowed to at all. Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay.
It has to be free. They have to cover everything.
Gotcha.
They have to cover accommodation and stuff. So at the higher end, but it's an interesting way, and these are the types of things they will try if they just need to increase their growth.
And there might be what's going to happen. Some teams are going to find ways, and then they're going to have to adjust the rules to cut
Okay.
some of these things out. You know what I mean? In that case, the rule's already in place. But if something like that, you could come up with some bullshit like that. But yeah.
But the thing is, at the same time, if you're not generating income generally, you're probably going to find it very hard to make a lot of this crap up because you still have to be able to move it around. And if you're not making money, you can't really do too much of it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so the bigger clubs with the more money will find it easier to magic more gross income from different places.
Yeah, if you're a club with, like, say, a 30,000 seater stadium in the Premier League or whatnot, and you're just reliant upon, and you don't have any really external revenue streams other than TV
Selling
money from the
players,
Premier
yeah.
League and selling players, eventually you're going to get basically overtaken.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, Lord.
I think that's that a bombshell.
Boom.
Make
that
money or
bombshell.
die.
Yes.
Okay, guys. It's been a good one. 2 hours we've hit again. Nice long show. So on that bombshell, guys, we will see you next time. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.